Hello. This talk is about nutrition in the microbiome and their impact on pain. I'm Heather Tick from the University of Washington. The microbiome is the mass of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and some parasites that are in and around our body. Most of it is in our gut. We are made up of 30 trillion human cells, and we have about 39 trillion microbial cells that we carry around. And there's hundreds of times more microbial DNA than human DNA associated with our body. That means we are more them than us. And it's actually a benefit to us because the DNA from the microbes can do things that we can't do. For example, there's types of fiber that we ingest, and we can't digest them, but the microbes can. And so we can benefit from that nutritionally. The microbes also make certain hormones and vitamins that we also couldn't make without their help. 70 to 80% of the immune system lines the gut. So it is very important that what gets absorbed through the gut wall should be only those things that nourish us and nothing that will stimulate the immune system to create an inflammatory response that could spread within the body. It is the job of the microbiome to keep our gut wall healthy, to keep those systems intact. Now, there are some surprising things that we've found in recent years about what goes on in the gut. So, for example, 80% of the serotonin that we have in our body is in the gut. We used to think that was only a brain chemical and it was associated with mood. The gut also contains at least 400 times as much melatonin as the pineal gland, that little gland in our brain that makes melatonin that we associate with going to sleep. So these are new findings, and we have yet to really figure out completely why those brain-associated chemicals are actually in the gut. But as an aside, there are enough neurons in the gut for a small mammal's brain. That means we basically have a brain in the gut as well as a brain in our head, and they are in instantaneous communication with each other. The microbiome plays a major role in inflammation. It instructs our immune system why, when, and how to unleash inflammation. The microbiome is also really important for epigenetics, turning genes on and off, and what we eat and drink plays a major role in that, as well as other lifestyle factors like exercise. This study was to demonstrate the power of food to increase inflammation in the body. They gave people a single fast food meal that is described here in the list below, and they found that it would increase serum IL-6, a marker of inflammation that shows risk for heart attack and stroke, and it increased IL-6 by 100%, peaking at 6 hours after the meal, which means really that IL-6 is elevated probably for somewhere between 8 and 12 hours. And so if you're eating more than one of these types of meal per day, you're going to really have increased risk around the clock. Once the importance of the microbiome was recognized, researchers started to look at changes in the microbiome that are associated with certain diseases and conditions. It's been found, for example, that fibromyalgia has some very characteristic changes in the microbiome. So does long COVID, as well as many of the autoimmune disorders. And in this instance, muscle pain is associated with deficiencies of these nutrients in fibromyalgia. In each of these, zinc, magnesium, folic acid, B12, and iron levels and ferritin have been shown in studies when those deficiencies are corrected that there can be improvement in some of the symptoms that people are having with their fibromyalgia. Many of you will already have heard that omega-3s, generally from fish oil containing DHA and EPA, can be very helpful for protecting our cognitive function, our brain function, and our heart. But there's also another role for them in something called pro-resolving lipid mediators. It turns out that as soon as there is inflammation that starts in our body as a result of an infection, an injury, or something that perturbs our tissues, that the body releases an inflammation that is designed to clean up the mess and then start us to heal. But we always used to think that inflammation just winds down on its own when it burns out. But that's not the case. There's actually an active role for these lipid mediators. They come from fats, from omega-3s, and they are released at the very same time as the inflammatory response. So inflammation and our body's anti-inflammatory mechanisms start at the same time in order to make sure that the inflammation is in a controlled way. And so these are now being used as supplements as well for different human inflammatory disorders, and they're being studied extensively. There are also vegetable sources of these omega-3s that I've listed here as well. It is important for us to eat a wide variety of foods because that stimulates a diversity in our microbes in our gut. And that has been shown to be associated with robust good health and resistance to disease. And this gives you a basic fundamental outline of what a good diet looks like. Microbiome research right now is very robust, and there is research into many different aspects of health that are influenced by our microbiome. And pain is certainly an important area because of the connection to inflammation. If you're wanting more information, you may consult my website.